When it comes to Caitlin Clark's rookie season, it's one of the most impressive campaigns I've seen from a player in any sport. As coming into the season, she was a borderline top 20, top 25 player. After about 15 games, a certified all-star, and now late in the year, a certified top 10 player, inching closer to being a top 5 player. As far as I'm concerned, the entire Rookie of the Year debate, Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark, that debate died about 3 weeks ago. As Clark post All-Star break has ascended, her play has gone drastically up, her team is winning, Angel Reese, her counterpart, has gotten worse and her team has faltered under the pressure. And looking at Clark in her last 2 games, versus the Sky, 31-12, versus Dallas, 28-12. In the entire WNBA's history, a player has had 28-12 or better only 3 times. Of course, Clark did it twice in 2 games back-to-back, and the other player was also Clark back in early July. What Clark is doing in the win column and in the stat sheet is simply unprecedented for a rookie. And in terms of passing and playmaking combined with scoring, debatably in that lane, are the best in her sport. And if you want to talk having double-doubles, effective double-doubles, Caitlin Clark's double-doubles actually lead to wins, as on the year when she has a double-double, the team is 7-4. Angel Reese's phony double-double streak, her 10-rebound streak, in the last 11 games of the Sky have gone 2-9. And worst of all, in a lot of those games, has stat-padded late to get 10 boards. If you ask me, Chicago falling off so bad is large part due to the team focusing on Reese so much, getting her individual numbers, whereas Clark gets her numbers in the flow of the offense and leads them to big-time W's. And that's the part nobody talks about. Clark's overall playstyle actually benefits the team and the players around her. Angel Reese's playstyle of the team is bending over backwards to benefit her and her overall stats. For Clark, it's the exact opposite. Her play leads to winning, she gets her stats, but also an immense impact on the team, reaching those wins. No other rookie, honestly even other player in the league, has Caitlin Clark's impact post All-Star break, that scoring passing combo. And honestly, it is kind of funny seeing people scramble, because early in the year they were just so dead set against Clark not being a great player, even an all-star. And what was the narrative early on for the Rookie of the Year? Wins, team records, standings, that's going to determine who wins this award, Angel Reese or Clark. And at that point, the Fever, they were 1-8, the worst team in the league, and ESPN was hammering this narrative every single day. Well, fast forward to September in the Fever, they're now above 500, 17-16, for the first time in a decade. They've lost 1 game post All-Star break, and on the brink of being a top 5 seed in the standings. One more narrative we also saw was the importance of phony double-doubles, which I already debunked. And now at this point, they've kind of run out of narratives to spin. The stats don't back them up, the eye test, the win column definitely doesn't. So what are they saying now? Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, it should be co-Rookie of the Year. I mean, this right here, respect to Lisa Leslie as a player, but that's a brain-dead take. The gap between Clark and Reese is a Grand Canyon-sized gap. And in light of Caitlin Clark's great play post All-Star break, one lady in Sheryl Swoopes has to be absolutely fuming. And in a game versus the Dallas Wings about a week back, Sheryl Swoopes on the broadcast actually went radio silent and didn't talk for a full minute regarding Caitlin Clark winning Player of the Week. I mean, it was just straight crickets for close to a minute.
And they're the next 2 opponents to the Wings. Caitlin Clark will be here on Sunday for the week, averaged 25, and Avisa Collier averaged over 25.
Now that right there for Sheryl Swoopes standards is tame for Caitlin Clark criticism. As looking at her Twitter account, you'll see jabs here and there week by week, downplaying Caitlin Clark's fans, even her own game. And recently after a game versus the Chicago Sky, where Caitlin Clark got mugged in the 4th quarter numerous times, who did Sheryl post-game actually take up for and defend? Not Caitlin Clark, the player getting mugged, but Diamond DeShields, the player doing the mugging and dishing out the cheap shots. And what did Swoopes say? There's, quote, nothing these evil people can do. I guess Caitlin Clark, Indian Fever fans, they're considered evil people. But again, the logic is so distorted, just so warped. The player committing flagrant fouls is somehow the person to be protected, and Caitlin Clark, her fans, they're the quote-unquote evil people. And the irony of Swoopes saying evil, when for the past 6 months this lady has been in a crusade against Clark, a 22-year-old rookie, the irony right there, it's definitely rich. I mean, the Swoopes vs. Clark rivalry, it's almost bigger than the Caitlin Clark vs. Angel Reese rivalry. And it's so big at this point, even the WNBA had to step in and boot Swoopes from calling Clark's game in Texas. That's how big it's gotten, how bad it's gotten. This entire league can't trust Swoopes to be objective calling a game. That's absolutely embarrassing for Swoopes as a former player and current analyst. And ask yourself, when did this rivalry with Swoopes vs. Clark actually start? If you guys remember, it was during Clark's senior year at Iowa in the NCAA tournament after she broke her record for tournament scoring. That was the point Sheryl Swoopes started lying about Clark routinely, about the number of shots she takes, how old she is, how many years it took her to break the record that Swoopes previously held. That right there was a flashpoint for Swoopes hating Clark. And for an NBA comparison, what it reminds me of is kind of Dwight Howard versus Shaq. As Shaq post-playing career, he despised Dwight Howard because Dwight was the best center in the NBA, kind of on Shaq's block, and took his nickname as Superman. For Swoopes, I have the feeling she's kind of like Shaq 2.0, getting a little bit antsy, a little bit nervous about Caitlin Clark, kind of taking over her league and erasing her legacy. Of course, that won't happen, but Swoopes kind of insecure, kind of nervous about Clark actually doing that. As compared to Swoopes' era, Caitlin Clark, the viewership she's getting, the fans she's getting, much more interest and buzz than Swoopes in her day back in the early 2000s. And to add insult to injury, Clark as a rookie, her overall numbers and impact, it is on par and rival with Swoopes when she was the MVP. As comparing these two, Clark, more points per game, more boards, double the assist, higher shooting, same amount of blocks, and Swoopes has more steals. I mean, stats-wise, Clark is on par with Swoopes at her best. Imagine Clark in 3-4 years at her best, not a rookie. Like I've said time and time again, Clark is going to rewrite all the history books for the WNBA. And when it comes to scoring and assist stats, she's going to be Wilt Chamberlain 2.0. As in 40 years, they're going to have to do post-Caitlin Clark like they do post-Wilt Chamberlain. Because the stats are going to be so nutty, so absurd, nobody can touch them. And one thing I do want to touch on contrasting Reese versus Clark is making teammates better. Specifically, teammates on the perimeter. As in Clark puts up these gaudy scoring stats, she's taking about 16, 18, maybe 20 shots. A lot of other players in this league need 22, 24 shots to crack 30. And again, Clark's passing separates her from virtually everyone. As looking at her teammates, someone like Kelsey Mitchell, her career field goal percentage is 42.4%. Last year, 44.1%, and this year with Clark, a career high, 46.4%. Lexi Hall for her career, 36.2%. Last year, 37.2%, and this year with Clark, 44.0%. Melissa Smith, career 45.8%. Last year, 47.7%, and this year with Clark, career high, 48.2%. I wouldn't say it's the most sophisticated metric to see impact, but Clark for her teammates undoubtedly makes them infinitely better. Specifically, someone like Kelsey Mitchell, who's been by herself in Indianapolis for about 8 years now. And one last thing I do want to touch on is Clark and her fourth quarter play post All-Star break. As a lot of these games the Fever are winning, in the fourth quarter they need Clark to be absolutely brilliant. And thus far, she's delivered. As in the fourth quarters, averaging 5.4 points per game, that ranks 12th in the WNBA, 3.1 assists, that ranks first, on 55-43 and 91 splits, with a plus-minus of plus 4.9, that ranks 5th. Clark post All-Star break is the most efficient fourth quarter player in the entire league, and in terms of points generated, above 10 per game, the most in the league. And looking at those shooting splits, I mean, it is Steph Curry-esque and a far cry where she was early in the season. As putting up 55, 43, 91 splits, I mean, it's absolutely absurd with the offensive load she carries. And why fourth quarter play is so important, so valuable, is come playoff time in these close games, you're going to need a great scorer as well as a great passer. Clark checks both those boxes. And going full circle, someone like Angel Reese, she isn't getting pick and rolls run for her, ISOs run for her, to create offense for herself or for teammates. That's the big difference. Caitlin Clark is the offense. Angel Reese is like a wrench being forced into the offense. It might work some nights, but it's awkward, kind of out of place, and it's unsightly. So that right there is the end of the video. As always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.